Ladies and gentlemen, the US don't have such a good track record when it comes down to human rights. And they never have. And you know what? I used to kind of chuckle at this subject when I was growing up and how certain people would react. And they would say, "Oh no, China and Korea and blah blah blah, and they do horrible things to their people." You do horrible things to your people. What are you talking about? You do horrible things to people on American soil. Always have, always will. But one thing I can honestly tell you, ladies and gentlemen, much of the world is no longer accepting the US dictating to them about human rights. See, they got away with that for a long, long, long time. Now, when they bring up human rights, those nations now fire back at the US and tell them you have no room to talk. If you don't believe it, go look at those videos of Nikki Haley at the UN. Every time she would talk human rights, they would practically cuss her ass out and talk about all the problems that the US have with their police and racism against black people. And they used to beat her ass down verbally. So the US don't get away with that quite as easy as they did once upon a time. Not anymore. And I think another reason why countries don't accept it from the US, because see, for a long time, US had the biggest purse strings. They really did. But now China has arrived. And many of those same countries that would have came to the US are now going to China instead. So, am I surprised? No, I always knew this was the case, even when I was a child. I knew the US was full of shit when it came down to human rights. So this came out on Vox, June 7th, 2019. Human rights in the United States are worse than you think. No, it's not worse than I think. I know it's always been atrocious. From police shootings to voter suppression to arrest of asylum seekers, new report finds U.S. human rights are abysmal. A new report examining human rights in the United States and around the world has been released, and its findings are disturbing. The U.S. is doing abysmally in several key categories, including the right to freedom for extrajudicial killings, the right to participate in government, and the right to be safe from the state. Of the 12 human rights categories, from press freedom to quality of life, measured by Human Rights Measurement Initiative, a global nonprofit analysis organization based in Wellington, New Zealand, there are several in which the U.S. has strikingly poor results, according to the report's author. The only thing the U.S. will do is threaten you, so you don't show this information, because this is the lame shit they do. But I don't know anybody on this planet that don't know about the racism in America. I don't know anyone on this earth that don't know about the police shootings. I don't know anybody on this earth that don't know about all of the high level of discrimination that has gone on in this country for centuries. I don't know anybody that didn't know about Jim Crow. U.S. is world renowned for those things. Okay, they are. And see, anytime dirt comes out about them, they want you to shut up. Don't talk about that. No, we are going to talk about this. And the reason why we are going to talk about it, because if we got to live it, we're going to speak it. Plain and simple. If we got to be forced into living through this oppression, We gonna be babbling about it every step of the way. It is a worrying sign that for all its resources and reputation for democracy, the U.S. is not doing all that well in the world when it comes to human rights. In fact, when compared with 5 other high-income organizations for economic cooperation and development countries, the group looked at Australia, Mexico, New Zealand, South Korea, and the United Kingdom. The U.S. performs worse than average on empowerment rights, such as the rights to participate in government and on the right to be safe from the state. The troubling findings, however, are something HRMI co-founder K. Chad Clay called not surprising and not new. We're not seeing much evidence of a sea change between the Obama and Trump administration. And he's right, because there were a high number of police shootings all through the Obama administration, and it has not improved through the Trump administration. There's really no distinction between the two when it comes down to the police killings. All right. In other words, things in the U.S. have been pretty bad for years, despite its developed, wealthy status. Well, boasting about money you got does not erase your ugly record. Okay? So you're ugly with money. Okay, that's pretty much how to sum it up. You're ugly with money. Americans' human rights record, discrimination, police shootings, and arrest of asylum seekers at the border. The report released Thursday looked at 3 broad categories of human rights globally: empowerment, safety, and the state, and quality of life. The group of experts, including human rights advocates from large organizations like Amnesty International and Human Rights Watch, as well as human rights lawyers and journalists, have surveyed to produce the first of its kind examination of safety from the state and empowerment for 19 countries. Separately, publicly available statistics from international databases were used to produce data for 170 countries and 5 categories of quality of life, which were paired with survey responses where available. Empowerment. The empowerment category comprises 3 political and civil rights: the right to assembly and association, the right to opinion and expression, yes, that's a big one, and the right to participate in government. You see it here on YouTube, ladies and gentlemen. You got people right here on YouTube that will demand you respect their freedom of speech, right? But then they will come to your channel, bitch and complain, and demand you get taken down. So in other words, I want to say what I want, but go over there and censor those people. And they really truly believe this is realistic. They do. So you respect my right to speak. I got the right to speak. The Constitution this and the Constitution that, and my rights and the Constitution. But then they'll come to your channel, listen to your video and demand you don't have the right to free speech. Now, how laughable is that? This is why you must always dig in for the fight for your freedom of speech as well, Black man, woman, and child. Whenever someone tries to shut down your voice, always take it to civil court. One thing I can honestly tell you, Black people do much better in civil court than we do in criminal court. So take advantage of that. There is no court in this land that's going to look at you and say, white people got freedom of speech, black people don't. There is no court in this land that's going to do that. They have to uphold your freedom of speech. If they don't, then you got a constitutional problem right there. And courts are not going to deal with that. They are just going to give you that freedom of speech and back away. They're not going to get into this constitutional fight, because if you go in there talking about hate speech, then you got a problem from the jump. You got a problem because there are no physical laws on the books for hate speech. Now, you got hate speech policies like here at YouTube, but as far as the law of the land, there is no hate speech laws in America. There are none. You said you wanted freedom of speech. So sometimes the speech you listen to will not always be favorable. So what you need to do is kind of grow up and pull yourself up by the bootstraps and get over it when you don't like something that's said. Isn't that what you say to everybody else? Need to learn how to take your own damn advice. Instead of going whining off about what somebody said, take your damn advice. The U.S. empowerment score was just 4.9 out of 10. Woo, that's sorry. That's sorry. This tells us that many people in the U.S. are not enjoying their civil rights and political freedoms. The report says exactly. A lot of people aren't. But see, the fatal mistake these folks are making is, see, when you have an unhappy world, eventually everything for you will come to an end. You know what's going to happen? People are going to stop cooperating. And they're not going to have anything left in their bag of tricks other than to kill you. That's it. To kill you. You won't do what I say. Why don't you do what I say? How come you Negroes were easier 10 years ago? 10 years ago than you are today. We had to grow up. Experts assigned the U.S. a score of 5.2 on a scale of 1 to 10. That is pretty bad. That is bad. That's a bad score, America. For freedom of expression, yes, because America is like that. Like I said, America is the kind of people that want to be able to express what they want, but when it comes time for you to express what you want, oh, now there's a problem and you need to be quiet. Oh, it's hate. Oh my God, it's so hate. Hate. No, what their butt sore about, y'all, is everybody on this planet ain't kissing their ass like they used to. And they know it. People ain't kissing their asses anymore. And they're feeling that. Severity percent of expert respondents said that journalists bear the brunt of risk. But about half of them also cited human rights advocates and people who protest or engage in nonviolent political activity as being at risk of having their right to free speech trampled on. It is trampled on every day in the U.S. The category is damning for its view on discrimination. Experts unambiguously put people in particular races at the top of its at-risk assessment, finding that people of color, at least, likely to have the right to participate in government. Well, the government don't look after us at all. They don't care about what happens to us. So I don't give a damn about participating or being part of this government. I really don't. You know, I'm like this. If you love me, I'll love you. If you don't love me, I'm not going to love you. Okay? So when you sit around saying we don't care about you, just know the feeling is definitely mutual. That's due in large part to voter suppression efforts in southern Republican led states, such as passing of laws that restrict early voting, purging people from voter rolls. Yeah, that's what they do. Every single election, they start purging people off the rolls and requiring citizens to show ID, all of which disproportionately affect African Americans and people with disabilities, among others. Safety from the state. This category involves what the report terms physical integrity rights, the rights to freedom from arbitrary arrest, disappearance, execution, and torture. When it comes to the rights and freedoms from execution, the U.S. is the only 3 places behind Saudi Arabia, a lowly stat that not everyone at HRMI expect. Clay said, in an age when most of the rest of the world is renouncing or not enforcing the death penalty, several states in the U.S. still execute prisoners, with 25 put to death in 2018. And America has executed innocent people before, just like they are constantly jailing innocent people in this country, according to Death Penalty Information Center. For extrajudicial killing, the U.S. come in a notorious 3rd place after Mexico and Brazil, particularly because of lethal force used by police against African Americans and other people of color. You know what? This has been happening in America forever. It took them from all this time to 2019 to recognize that the most lethal force by police is used on us. Kind of slow, y'all. Kind of slow. The last day of 2018 saw 92nd police shooting that resulted in death. In this case, that of a man who was armed with a knife but was not fleeing, according to the Washington Post 2018 police shooting database. Well, you know what, ladies and gentlemen, that right there says it all. You shoot so many damn people, you need a goddamn database. That says it all about this nation and as far as killing people is concerned. You know, you got people that still want to insist any shooting that the cop does is justified. Any shooting that the police do is justified. So, you know, it's bullshit, and we all know it. We know it's bullshit, ladies and gentlemen. And it's pretty bad when you see reports that say more Americans are killed by cops than ISIS kills people. That says it all right there. It really does. And don't expect that to get better, y'all. These cops are going to always kill people unarmed, and it's because America let them know that it's okay. And they are going to continue to let it happen because the politicians in this country don't give a damn about us. They never have. They have showed their disdain for us by promoting more legislation to protect cops, and they don't do anything or push any bills to protect us. So the politicians in this country has pretty much given us the finger for the last 4 centuries, and they have no intention of ever doing right by us anytime soon. This is why we must continue to lift our voices up about reparations. I don't care if we give these motherfuckers a migraine. Keep bringing it up anyway. I don't care if they say you're not getting it. Keep bringing it up anyway. If we ain't gonna be comfortable up in this bitch, they ain't gonna be comfortable up in here either. Keep bringing it up. Okay, now, in this category, respondents also stress the deaths of children at the southern border and prisoners denied necessary medical care, like David Clark denying water to inmates and one died, and a few deaths under his watch. All negligent. Yeah, that kind of treatment. The good old American way. Okay. Also included in the right to freedom from extrajudicial execution are civilian deaths caused by U.S. drone strikes. More than half of the report experts say that refugees, asylum seekers, and immigrants are at risk for arbitrary arrest, and a quarter of them said refugees and asylum seekers are at risk for disappearance. The number of experts that said immigrants are at risk for disappearance climbed to 1/3 of the respondents. 80% of the report's human rights experts cited refugees or asylum seekers as particularly at risk for torture, especially LGBTQ people seeking protection at the U.S. border. Quality of life. The quality of life category includes 4 economic and social rights: the right to food, education, health, housing, and work. This is the only area in which it looks like the U.S. is doing relatively well. Not really, you just didn't take a closer look. The country scored an 83, which you gave them that 83. They didn't earn it, on the report's Quality of Life Index, which takes into account America resources as well as how well it is using them to make sure its people quality of life rights are fulfilled. I disagree. You sure didn't look close enough. Still, to HRMI report authors, this nice looking number tells them that the U.S. is only doing 83% of what it could be accomplishing with the country's vast resources. That puts the country in the lower third of high-income nations. Since anything less than 100% indicates a country is not meeting its current duty under international human rights law, the report author writes, our assessment is that the United States have some way to go to meet its immediate economic, social rights duty. They won't meet it. Trust me, they won't. Even more disturbingly, people of color fare extremely poor on all the human rights measures. African Americans in particular were identified by experts as being particularly vulnerable to abuses of every single right measured. That's why you got to keep demanding reparations. There is no one on this earth that don't know that black folks don't get treated well in America. There's no one on the planet that don't know this. Native Americans came next in terms of the risk of having their rights violated. After that came Latinx people, women and girls, LGBTQ people, and people with disabilities, along with refugees and asylum seekers. Why don't y'all just say anybody that's not white? Damn, you damn near said it. On civil and political rights, the United States is the worst performing high income democracy in our sample, Clay said. A global leader like the United States could surely do better. They won't. They won't. The United States is not concerned about being fair. The United States is concerned about keeping people in their place the way they think it should be done. That's the only thing they're caring about. They don't give a shit about nothing else, y'all. You know that. Come on now. And despite the ongoing poor performance overall by the US, the report's authors say it doesn't mean nothing has shifted for the worse in terms of human rights under Trump. In particular, the right to opinion and expression, as well as the right to freedoms from arbitrary or political arrest and detention, has been most affected by policies and words from the Trump administration, Clay said. With Trump in office, there's been broad, diffuse self-censorship in response to statements and actions taken by the U.S. federal executive, some of which have been seen as encouraging legal action and or violence against some, the report says. The U.S. Press Freedom Tracker, a collaboration between 24 press freedom organizations, have documented 315 incidents dangerous to the media between 2017 and today. Quite frankly, I don't care about the media. I don't care about the media. The media does everything it can to report as negatively as possible on the black community. And so when your rights are trampled, fend for yourself. I do believe you have freedom of speech. I mean, you've had the freedom to lie for 5 centuries. Okay, you've certainly had that. But as far as talking about us, you don't get no medal. Add together the growing number of press freedom violations with ever increasing reality of human rights abuses against refugees and asylum seekers, as well as African Americans, such as the right to freedom from arbitrary or political arrest and detention. And it would appear it is time to keep on your toes. At least now we have a series of benchmarks from which to monitor. So there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. The U.S. gets a big F minus 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 when it comes down to human rights, and really deserved that F minus 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 for the last 5 centuries. You want to know what happened to me, ladies and gentlemen? America happened to me. Reality happened to me. I used to be all nice and cheery and, oh, I'm so concerned about others and, oh, don't hurt their feelings and don't say this and don't say, oh, I was on that bandwagon for a while. Then, after looking at multiple incidents throughout my life of discrimination and watching people get wrongly punished that didn't do anything wrong, and watching people abuse power and authority, it changed everything for me. That person that I once was, you ain't gonna never see her again. She's gone forever. This is what America created when it comes down to me. You created me, America. I wasn't like this always, but you created what you're looking at today. Please leave your comment and subscribe. Don't forget to hit on the notification bell, and I'll see you on the next video. Peace, family.